Hello, everybody. My name is Mr. Pule, and I'm your instructor for this class. And this little video just an introduction. So, um, let's go way back to I graduated from high school at 17 years old, and we didn't have it. There's no way I was going to go to college. I didn't know what the heck to do. We didn't have any money. We are pretty poor. So, I joined the U.S. Air Force. And it's probably the best thing I ever did because it got me out of the house. I wanted to get out. Nothing was wrong. I just wanted to be on my own. So um, I did and spent 4 years in the Air Force and met my first wife, who I'm still married to, but I always introduce my first wife. And see, and uh, a long time ago. And when I got out, again, I kind of didn't know what I was going to do. So I got a job as a production manager trainee at a company, a drapery manufacturing company in Pittsburgh, where I'm from. And so I thought, well, I'll give it a shot. Well, there are three of us that were hired for this position, and and it was I enjoyed working there, and it was pretty good. And the other two kind of fell by the wayside, but I stuck it out for a while, and I ended up being plant manager of two plants in West Virginia. And I moved both out of Pittsburgh and moved to West Virginia. And there was two plants there, and I ran both of them. So that worked out pretty well. Then I decided to move the plants to Hialeah, Florida. And if they would have offered me then, I probably would have went with them. And because I knew that company and that industry very well. Worked there for like 8 years. And but they didn't. So I went my merry way. And about 6 months later, they called me up, want me to come back. Well, I wasn't going to go back after that. No. So it was really fun for me to tell them what they could do with their job. So anyhow, moving right along, I was so because of that, I started out kind of in its cut sew operations type of thing, and I did that for a while, different in manufacturing, and um, then I got one job. I got transferred to California, so I lived in California for 28 years, and then I was in a um, I got hired by the fiber processor that for our fill for our bedspreads that made the fill. They hired me, and I went to work in the fiber processing business, and that was really interesting with a company named Wellman. It was a big company, like $1 billion company, but they were pretty good about safety, and I became the safety coordinator for the facility in Southern California. And it was the nonwovens group of well, non-woven fabric is most of the fabrics you have on your clothing are woven. They have one going this way, one going this way, and they're woven. But I was in charge of that was the non-wovens. Non-wovens are not woven, obviously, and there's several different ways you can do them. And one of them is needle punch. You have a bed of fiber coming through, and you have a machine with like 100,000 needles on it, and it waves mechanically like this. It's up and down, not like this, but not like this, and it's makes like a felt type of thing. And this was doing for civil engineering fabrics, like used in construction for a lot of different uses in construction. And I ended up running that portion of that company. And I also I found out that one of the ways to get ahead is to take care of, be responsible for new, NEW. And that's my own little acronym for nobody else wants. So nobody wants to deal with OSHA or the government or the fire department and that stuff. So I did it. Okay. And that worked out pretty good for me. So uh, I worked there for a while, and then I he sold out then to a company called Western Nonwovens, which is the biggest one in Southern California. They bought several companies out, and we were one of them. And after we were bought out by them, they sent an email out to all of us saying this guy that owned that company had his own entourage of safety and environmental people and stuff like that, consultants, and they were going to tour all facilities, and he wanted a list of our safety things and all this stuff and our plans and our permits and all this stuff. They wanted all this stuff. And it just so happened that I was the last one on the tour, the last place to come. So they come bumping over to my office, and I hand them a stack of about an inch thick stuff. And they looked at it and says, "What's that?" And I says, "That's the stuff you asked for in your email." That's they know what to do. So, we'll get it later. And well, I stuck it on a shelf, and 6 months later, I shredded it. But anyhow, because I had it and nobody else did, I guess that's one of the reasons why. But anyhow, I soon ended up as being the corporate director, safety environmental health and safety director for the entire corporation, which has 11 factories throughout the United States, mostly in the West, but one in Florida. And And that was a really interesting, I liked a job and I liked it a lot. And I was kind of my own boss. I set my own schedule and um, dealt with OSHA, dealt with whatever came done in the way, and you'll see that in that my video that says how I became a safety professional. So you guys starting out here at the young age, most of you are, not all of you, of course, are way ahead of where I was at 17 or 18 years old. So congratulations on that. Um, so after California, uh, my daughter and son-in-law decided to move to Oklahoma. That's where my son was raised. And he asked me one day that well, we were planning moving. I said, "Yeah, when I retire someday, we'll do it." And so they were prepping to leave, and we had looked at our house, the value of the house we had in California, and the house we paid $170,000 for now is worth like $600,000. So I said to my wife, "We're moving now because it's not going to get any better than this." So instead of waiting until I retired, we just gone ahead and sold the house and for $582,000. And I worked there for and I was looking at the house uh, in Spyro on the internet just out of curiosity. And my son-in-law says, "Why don't you buy that house and let my daughter Tori and my grandkids live in it until you move out there?" And I said, "Okay." That was on a Thursday, and on Sunday we bought the house. That's the house I'm living in right now. And so then I worked out in California. They kind of didn't want me to leave. They were paying I was staying in a hotel and they were paying all my expenses and everything. And if I had to come back for a job interview, they would pay my way back and everything else. So they were really good to me. And I hated leaving there. And I liked the job and the people, but I was getting tired of it. So I went and I says, well, they wanted me to work for 4 more weeks. And I said, look, okay, but then I want 4 weeks severance pay. And they said, what? We don't give severance pay to people that are quitting. I said, okay, fine then. I'll just work out this week, whatever it was, and leave. So I get back to my office and there's an email from the vice president saying, yeah, you get after you work 4 more weeks, you get 4 weeks severance pay and full benefits. And they said, okay. And then to boot, they had an ongoing OSHA investigation, and the guy they hired to replace me was not competent. And he was not head in and head, and he had family problems and stuff in his head. It wasn't in anyhow. So they hired me to go back as a consultant. So in a month, in a week rather, I made about a month's pay as a consultant going back there and doing this thing that I was doing all the time. So it worked out pretty good for me. And then it just so happened that I came out here and there was an ad in the paper for a safety director at OK Foods. And I thought, well, this would be interesting. So I went for an interview and I didn't get hired. So I said, okay. So I wrote a nice letter to the vice president and I interviewed me and asked them to hold my resume in case something happened. And I'll be honest with you, always in the back of my mind, I had the feeling that something was going to happen with OK Foods. So I went to work at the Jenny Lind Quarry and as a scale clerk for something to do. And after 7 weeks working there, I got a call from the vice president say the guy we hired ahead of you didn't work out. So if you want the job, this was 6 months after my interview. If you still want the job, you got it. I won't even interview anybody else. So I called them the next day and said I'll take the job. Gave my 2 weeks notice, which they didn't really want. They had somebody would fill in for me. And so I went to work at OK Foods and I worked there for almost 10 years, just shy of 10 years. And I always tell this story. In 11 and a half years, OK Foods had 3 safety directors. The guy behind me lasted, and I was there for 10. So the guy behind me lasted like 6 months. And the guy after me lasted like a little over a year. So I don't know. I know it's a funny place to work sometimes, but I'm pretty proud that I stuck it out there as safety director for 10 years and I retired. And I was still kind of having a handle with safety. And I was a safety environmental council meeting in Fort Smith. And this Scotty McKnight was sitting next to me, and she said, "Would you like to be a teacher?" And I said, "Well, I don't have a teaching certificate." She's teach at Carl Albert. She said, "Oh, you don't need that." She said, "Do you have a degree?" I said, "Yeah, I have a bachelor's degree." She says, "That in your job history will probably get you there." So I came down and saw Mrs. McConnell, and here I am. This is my 8th year teaching here, so I really enjoy it. I'd like really, really enjoy it more if we had face-to-face contact and in-person contact. I like that aspect of it a lot, but here we are. So what we do with it. So anyhow, here I live with I kid around everybody's my first wife, Marilyn. We've been married for like 56 years. And our daughter and her son and two grandkids live here in Spiro too. And we are just really enjoying it. So that's kind of all about me. And I think you'll enjoy this course. This course. There's three classes in the fall, and I teach two in the spring, three in the fall. And I think you'll enjoy them. And the phone number is all over the place. And please don't hesitate to call me. You can call me just to chat with me if you want to too. That's fine. Um, so in the course of this, we'll probably be talking over the course of these classes. So that's it.